Hello, my name is Rochelle Anthony, and I teach English, French, and math for junior and primary students. And the syllabus I teach is the Ontario curriculum. So the grades I teach would be between grades 1 to 7, and grade 8 French. And grade 8 and grade 9 French, I am also comfortable with teaching. And my years of experience would be 3 years with Minds on Math, an organization that I volunteer with to teach students in low-income environments about math, and they are from grades 1 to 6. And I also taught with Virtual Teach and Learn. I volunteered with them during the quarantine in 2020. And I also tutor outside of these organizations. I tutor a girl going into grade 3, and I also tutored 3 students who went to grade 4, grade 5, and 1 going to grade 8. So my educational background, I'm in the advanced placement program at St. Teresa of Lizo High School, and I'm going into grade 11. And I also completed the Harvard Secondary School summer program for Introduction to Molecular and Evolutionary Biology. And yes, so now I will be doing a sample of my essay writing course, which I created. So if I can share my screen here. What will be covered in the course would be day 1, essay structure of persuasive essays and key points that make such essays stand out. Day 2, the class analysis of a persuasive essay example. Day 3, how to choose a topic. Day 4, strong thesis statements. Day 5, how to write an introduction. Day 6, the content of body paragraphs, how to elaborate on subtopics. Day 7, how to write a paragraph about a counter argument. So that would be your first or last paragraph. Day 8, how to write a strong conclusion to end the essay off. Day 9, learning about essay emotional techniques, logical techniques, and ethical techniques, like with pathos, logos, and ethos, as well as the influential aspect with celebrities, etc., in the ethos category. Day 10, editing the essay. And day 11, other types of essays like informative, personal, and compare and contrast essays. So here, the basic structure we will talk about. So an essay always starts with an introduction. In the introduction, there are certain components that must be included. These would be the title, often posed as a question to grab a reader's attention, the hook, opening the essay with an anecdote, a joke, a quotation, or a relevant statistic, something to capture their attention from the get-go. The background to the topic, placing the issue in context and briefly bringing up different opinions. And lastly, ending off the introduction with the thesis statement, expressing one's own opinion and previewing the main points of the 3 body paragraphs that you will further explain. In the body, we have subtopic 1, the counter-argument. Now, this could be switched around to subtopic 3, depending on how strong your subtopic 3 is. You always want to end off with your strongest argument. Now, the body also, you want to use the TEAL acronym to write paragraphs, which we will go more into later in the course. Last, in the conclusion, we have the thesis statement being restated in different words to really drill the point into our readers' minds, and ending the essay with an impactful statement, such as a quotation or an inference made. So here in the diagram, you can see that the introduction should be less heavy than the counter-arguments and the arguments, and the conclusion should be the same. Now, persuasive techniques. We have repetition. Repeating the same idea or argument helps drill it in readers' heads and gives them more opportunities to understand it fully. Storytelling. Humans understand things better through anecdotes, emotionally touching stories, or third-person experiences that really touch our audience's hearts, depending on the topic. Especially with persuasive essays, you want to try to get across to them through using pathos, which comes in handy through those storytelling experiences. Third, we have dealing with dissent. The opposing argument must be addressed so that there are opportunities to present rebuttals and make readers question their own formulated opinions before they heard your essay. You want to let them know that you are considering all aspects and not being closed-minded. You want to show that you are open-minded. Then we have the call to action. So this is usually used in the conclusion, and it asks readers to do something, leaving them with food for thought, such as recycling, signing a petition, donating to a charity, or speaking out against an issue. Here we have some other persuasive techniques like alliteration, so using the same letter in consecutive words to start off, like alluring aching apples. Alluring aching apples. Beautiful aching apples. It sounds different because all of the words start with A. Now you want to make sure that the adjectives make sense together, but it should serve a purpose in your essay to help create flow and to really leave that phrase like stuck and imprinted in your audience's mind to go back to. Now we have sarcasm. This can be a persuasive technique when talking about counter arguments. Adverbs. You want to use adverbs, adjectives, things that give description and depth to your argument. Rhetorical questions. This is what you likely see in the start of your introduction, like, would you expect this? And then answering it yourself. Or why do people do this? And answering it yourself. You want to seem knowledgeable. You want to present your info to the audience in a way that engages them. And that's by asking questions and answering for them, allowing them to try to formulate an answer in their minds as well. We talked about repetition, anecdotes, everybody language, so language that everyone in your target audience can understand. Inclusive language, this is especially important if you're giving a speech to all ages. Metaphors, trying to relate it to things that the people can understand within their own lives. Imagery, really trying to use those descriptive words to create a nice image to visualize, and that again plays to people's emotions. Similes, like metaphors. Tone. Now, tone is a big one that we're going to discuss later, but it's really important in showing how passionate, how strong and fierce you are when arguing your point and showing where you're coming from as well. So is this a mellow tone? Are you giving a strong, decisive tone? Like we need to take action tone. So that would come from the call to action that I believe was mentioned before. See here, the call to action. So, and then here on this side with the green, we have the logic, appeals, cliches, satire, and puns. So these are 5 important concepts that each in their own way play to the reader's appeal. So that would be, appeals would be things that interests of the reader. So things that they already have knowledge on, topics that you can delve deeper into to help them understand more about this concept. And then you have cliches, again, things that they can relate to. That's also the importance with metaphors and similes, etc. Now, here we have a quick revision. Again, another worksheet just to make sure that the basics are down pat, so that we can continue into implementing these into writing. The key points of persuasive essays. It tries to make people feel the same way you do about the topic. Right here, we have a person saying, I like apples, and you should too. Obviously, that's a very basic sentence that's not necessarily persuasive, but what it does is it clearly and directly asks the audience to identify with the same opinion that they have on a topic, which is ultimately what you're trying to do. You're not trying to beat around the bush, but you're definitely trying to provide more depth and more reasoning to bring people to your side. So number 1, clear, concise, and defined thesis is very key. This can include a recommendation for action, a narrow in focus, not broad, being supported by evidence. This can all help the thesis really come together. And when I say narrow and focus, I mean that it has to be specific. You need to get to the point. You need to show the reader that you know what you're talking about. You're not just rambling on. Number 2, you have effective introductions. Using sincere and straightforward language is very important rather than being strong or emotional, which might offend some readers. Some questions to consider when developing arguments are: what does the audience already know about the topic? What are they going to use to formulate arguments against your point of view? What is the audience point of view? Do they already agree or disagree with my position? What are the chances of changing the opinions and actions of the audience? So how strong are these beliefs instilled in them? Are there any sensitive issues I should be aware of when discussing this topic? That the purpose of the essay, target audience research, and understanding of your topic are significant. Examine the audience by asking, who is the reader? Who is the listener? What is their perspective? What level of knowledge do they have? What impression do they want to leave the reader with? What is the message that they should take away? What should they feel impassioned or enlightened to think about? Essay writing should be concise and to the point, but you want to, especially with informative essays, you want to load them up with information, but you want to take the key points. That's what you want them to take away at the end of the day. Study sides of an issue, then align with one side. Develop logical reasons. Make sure you have sufficient proof to back up each of your 3 main points in your body paragraphs. Present both sides, strengths and weaknesses of each, but make sure to identify rebuttals. Conclude the argument. Don't repeat. Just remind readers what's at stake. Avoid repetition. Connect ideas logically. The transition between key points should be intentional and it should flow. It should make people feel like they're watching a speech, something that is just rolling out of your tongue, not something forced. And apply a formal style. Establish, and you definitely want to maintain an objective tone. You don't want to sound biased at all, and there really should be no bias in an informative essay. You want to ensure it's not biased so that people see how passionate you feel about your side without having external factors influence that.